God of War has won this year's Game of the Year. Now, I'm not a hater of God of War. I likes me some God of War. I likes me some God of War so much that the homies bought me God of War stuff, like this dope ass Japanese Kratos. It's like a little chibi Kratos. This is pretty cool. And I'm gonna even go old school. I still got like some old school PlayStation God of War 2 figures. I likes me some God of War. I loves me some Kratos. But my question really comes down to, if you have less awards than some of the other games and a lower score than some of the other games that were nominated, how did you win exactly? So God of War won Game of the Year for this year, and I really do want to say congratulations to the studio over there in Santa Monica. I loved God of War. I played it. I loved it, and it's a great game. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody who loves God of War or action games, because I love action games. I really, really love action games. I love Devil May Cry. I love God of War. I love Bayonetta. I love Nier. I even love Dead Cells, which for some strange reason wasn't nominated on the list of, games that were possible nominees for Game of the Year, although Assassin's Creed Odyssey somehow made it up there, and that game had lower scores and a worse user review than Dead Cells, but for whatever reason that didn't really work out, so whatever. But still, let's get back on point. I love God of War. My question though is, okay, let's take a look at some of the games that were listed as Game of the Year contenders. So first we have Celeste. Celeste is a Switch game. It won the best indie, and it also won Games for Impact. It basically got a Metacritic score of 92. It got a user Metacritic score of 8.3. It's supposed to be a pretty dope game. I like the art style. It's supposed to be pretty fluid. It's supposed to be a must-play game. I've got no problem with that. Dope game. I want to check it out myself. I don't have a Switch. I'm kind of working on that. I might get one, but we'll see how that goes. But moving on. Then next we have Monster Hunter World. Monster Hunter World got Best RPG. It's a pretty dope action game, but I guess they're lumping it in with RPG, so it won Best RPG, got a Metacritic score of 90, got a user review of a 7.6 on Metacritic. Not the best. I could see how some people didn't really like how it was set up, and it was very Japanesey, and some of the controls and menus were a bit clunky, so I can understand that, but it is what it is. It's still a very great game, and I would say the best value in terms of time spent, bargain, and the number of ways that you can play the game. Plus there's a very deep system, and it has constantly gotten updates for free. No gold super edition year-end pack plus $40-50 on top of the base game. You just bought the base game and you got everything else that went with it for free, and it had multiplayer up to 4 friends co-op, and the internet was pretty smooth for that. But we'll leave that alone. It's a dope game. If you haven't played Monster Hunter World, you definitely should. Moving along, we have Spider-Man. Another great game. I love the narrative of Spider-Man. Got a Metacritic score of 87. Got a user review of 8.7. I personally like the DLCs. I like some of the DLCs. I'm looking forward to the next DLC that comes out, and some of the suits. Some busy work in the game, some tedious stuff that you see that seems pretty repetitive. The combat system is nowhere near as deep as God of War in direct comparison. The graphics are still really good, but is it God of War worthy? No, definitely not. But it is Spider-Man. It is fun. It has a good narrative, and yeah, it's a good time. But is it beating God of War? I don't think so. But still, it's still a really good game. I'm happy to see that it was on the list. getting into the real meat of it, and the real contender that I think a lot of people had on the plate was Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, the problem that I think with this is that Red Dead came out a bit late for these awards. I don't really think a lot of people have gotten that deep into it in terms of thoroughly finding out every little thing about it, whereas people who play God of War probably have gone up and down through it, made a bunch of guides, and done everything they ever need to do with it, played it over and over again, had a pretty good time with the camera and making their own pictures and stuff like that. I could see people having more experience with God of War, and that could be the reason why it won. But when we look at the actual game's awards, well, Red Dead won for best performance for an actor. He beat Kratos. Kratos's main line was "boy," and that's cool. It's lots of memes. We all had our memes of boy, and I'm not hating on that. But Red Dead also got best audio design, best musical score, and and also the best narrative. So the story was awesome, the audio was awesome, the performance in the narrative was all awesome. But then when you go into the action adventure games, you have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, God of War, Spider-Man, Red Dead, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Then God of War won for the best action adventure game and beat out all of the other games, basically. And I'm guessing because of that, and because it also won best direction, that it won Game of the Year. My question really, though, is, was it really the Game of the Year, and did it beat all of the other games that it was going up against? Now, the question that I would propose is that, was it more fun than these other games? And that's really what the Game of the Year should come down to in a lot of ways. Was it more fun? Did it have more replayability? Did it have you sink more time into it? And was it an overall more satisfying experience? That's a little bit tough because, to be 100% fair, I'm sure if you've been on this channel, you know that I've spent a lot more time playing Monster Hunter than any of these other games because it was that deep, and I could switch between certain play styles and play with friends, which made it a lot of fun and gave a lot more replayability and basically most bang for your buck. With Red Dead 2 getting online very soon kind of worked out. It's still in its infancy and still has a long way to go. The main story is awesome. I love Red Dead's story. I love the way that it was put together. I like the day and night cycles. I like all of the characters that you interact with. I like a lot of the things and systems that go along with Red Dead. A few things I don't like in terms of the online multiplayer, but if we're talking about the regular main game, it does have a really good narrative, which it did win for. But is it the best action game? And yeah, it may not necessarily be the best when you compare it to God of War, but we're not talking about only action. We're talking about the entire package. Now, I don't know about you, but I played God of War and I spent a good amount of time with it. And I would say, even though I was streaming it and doing it stream after stream, it probably took me probably about 40 hours to play and get through. It was very bang, bang, bang. Lots of good action, great puzzles, great characters, great direction. And it moved the story of God of War forward by a lot. I liked his son. I liked Atreus, and I liked Kratos, of course. But when you get into things like Arthur and his dynamic with the camp, the riding the horses, getting all this other stuff, side missions, tons of side missions, and just an endless amount of time that you could play and get lost and not even worry about it and have fun just doing things because of the open world setting. I'm kind of torn between saying that it really did win Game of the Year for me. Now, I'm not one of these professional critics. I'm not one of these people that get paid to do it. I'm also not any of these people who get bribed and slid some cash underneath the table to say what somebody else wants me to say. So Do you think that God of War should have really won Game of the Year? Best action adventure game? Sure. Totally, hands down, it was the best, no question about it. Action adventure? Sure. Perfectly great game. In terms of not having DLC, in terms of only having its storyline, in terms of not having multiplayer, in terms of once you're done, you can do New Game Plus, but that's about it. I don't see it being the best value in the list of games for Game of the Year. Best graphics? I don't know. I still think Red Dead may eke that out. It, you know, on the Xbox One, it was 4K, real 4K, and not like bumped up Sony. We say it's 4K, even though it's kind of not. I don't know. I personally think that it didn't really win. I'm pretty sure Dot Decor is going to say that his game of the year is Monster Hunter. And in terms of games that I would say that I would love playing and I could continually play throughout the year, which I think should equate to some kind of value as a game of the year, being able to say that I can play this game for months and 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 not have to pay extra money. I don't know. I think that, you know, Monster Hunter or Red Dead could still do it in terms of the value that you get for what you get and the continued service that you get for it after everything is said and done. I'm really not hating on God of War. I love God of War. I just personally don't think that it really did kill it and dominate as the game of the year. I still don't even know why Hitman 2 wasn't even nominated for nothing. That game still got like 82, which was not great for critics, but it still got 9.0 in terms of user satisfaction, which is a lot better than a whole bunch of other games. But I'm going to leave that for another time. I know some of you are going to agree, some of you are going to disagree, and that's cool. You're entitled to your own opinion. This is just my opinion, so that's kind of how I feel about it. Let me know again what you guys think. And until the next video, I'm Khan, and I will see you very, very soon. I'm out. Peace.